Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this awesome cafe in Sydney. My studio has basically been dismantled. It's not coming back. I've got a new studio on the way, but today I wanted to have a discussion with a good friend of mine, Chris Symons. Chris, I wanted to welcome you to the show.
Thanks, Joel. It is lovely to be here. Long time coming. Looking forward to the chat.
This is a different kind of chat. Now, the last time we did a chat, it was very invigorating. It was called Plan B, and we were on Instagram Live, and that conversation, a lot of people really liked it. It was about an hour and a half, and we're talking about where we go if a lot of the minor parties end up failing us and they don't work together, and the different solutions I'd been coming up with. But I wanted to, in this holiday time, come together, have a chat, and see where things are going, where we've been the last 2 years, and really talk about anything. But it's the holiday season. It's a lot more chill, these sorts of episodes. And quite frankly, I got sick of doing the Zoom calls. I don't know if you did, and the Instagram lives. But no, look, honestly, man, it's good to just have a drink with you and chill out for a sec. Yeah.
Well, yeah, with the Instagram lives, I wasn't even getting sick of it that much. Instagram just shut me down for like 30 days.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I couldn't even go live.
Jesus,
So.
Are you still shut down now?
No, I can go on now.
Ah, jeez. Because we've been
shadow banned.
Really shadow banned. I mean, we've been talking about it.
Like, we don't have to do code words.
Yeah, no. Look, if they can, whatever they want. Like, I'm putting this on Rumble and everywhere. But are you still being censored? Because I worked out the last couple of months. Ever since Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook went down, we all remember that, when it was the blackout.
Yeah.
We all had our algorithms reset, and all of a sudden we were getting like 38% of our following viewing our stories. So if you had about 20,000 followers, you'd be getting about 8,000 viewing your stories.
Yeah.
And with you, it really got censored recently.
Way less.
Yeah.
Like, way less.
Jesus.
Like it was like literally down to like 100 people sometimes.
Yeah.
On the stories.
Yeah.
So, and that would be sometimes they'd be like, 1,500 people, 1,800 people. It literally got down to 100. That's how much they shut it down.
Yeah.
And like, they would just put in like saying that you've gone against the guidelines. And even like they would send you a message from an Instagram live I did and uploaded 2 months later saying this now goes against the guidelines, and they're removing it.
Yeah.
Like 2 months later.
Yeah.
So it was like, so I actually made another page just to kind of promote heavy stuff, whatever, just do the stuff that you can't normally do.
Yeah.
And just put in different hashtags like, I love Joe Biden and I love the government and trying to get it that way.
Yeah.
That seemed to work a little bit.
Yeah. I was meant to do a segment on this and how much everyone was being censored before I went to Melbourne, but it was just a handful when I was there. But I was going to tell everyone, get them off your platforms while you still have a following. You need to get them onto Telegram. I've been very lucky in building up my Telegram, but other people not so much. And unfortunately, they're going to be relying on some of the existing people to sort of give them plugs to get them up there. But they're really pesky, their social media,
And it's very disappointing, but I guess, we could go deep straight away and we could just say why.
Yeah.
Like, why censor us?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
We don't seem like hardened criminals.
I don't know, man. You look pretty hard, man.
To jail,
Well, I don't know.
I don't know about you.
Yeah. I'm not sure, man.
Right. So why?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, I think that your thoughts are really dangerous, and the problem with that is if you are exposed to those thoughts, it could be very infectious. So I think what it's rooted in is it's literally they think that people generally are stupid. These elitists, these people in the media, these politicians, and they're worried about these facts and logic being infectious and going to all of their constituents' minds. So I feel like it's because they talk to us like we're children, right? They say, you mustn't do this and it's for the good of everyone, therefore I'm going to take your right away and your choice.
Dude, they're censoring like, Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins is like one of my greatest mentors, right? He changed my life like 8 years ago, and he's like, he's in a room, he's like, motivational speaker, personal development, for like 6 days straight. He has 15,000 people in a Superdome just on him, like pretty much, majority on him. And he put some reports out saying the Johns Hopkins report saying there was no more people died from COVID than they did from the flu and blah, 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 blah. Like, there's no reason to be scared of this. Why are we shutting down? And I posted that, and it put on Instagram, put it as like it goes against the guidelines, but you know how on the top of Instagram a post it actually went black.
Yeah.
So to actually view it, you've got to actually press to see video.
Yeah.
But this is Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Like he had people like Clinton call him up, the Navy SEALs would call him up and say, Tony, we've got a problem, or we need you to motivate our troops for a week.
Yeah.
He would spend time with the snipers to get them to slow their heart rate down, to get them to focus. This guy's a really influential, smart, intelligent guy, and they're making him out like he's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Because obviously once they say you're crazy, then you become like not as influential, right, in that topic.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Because big tech has really contributed to record levels of suicide, anxiety, depression in young kids and everyone really, because of the unrealistic sort of body expectations that we have, and it feeds you what you want, so it gets worse and worse, and you get put in these echo chambers, political or just physical beauty and everything. And the problem with that is now what they're doing is they censor an inspirational guy that's helped people out these problems, like Anthony Robbins.
He's changed like so many people's lives.
Yeah.
Like from depression, suicide, like so many of that. Even personally for me, I was going through a dark time of anxiety and depression 8 years ago. He was one of the guys that really helped me change. And he was like, the way he calls it is get out of your head and into your heart, right?
Yeah.
And right now it's so much in your head, fear, propaganda. Right, it's just like, it's craziness, but at the same time they've also shot themselves in the foot, because now they've actually pointed out, we can see, even the person that's not so logical, critical thinking can go, wait on, we can see you've shut down Chris, you shut down Joel, but you're shutting down Tony Robbins and other influential people, like, come on. And then it just happens, Joel, that Facebook has gone to court recently and admitted that the fact checkers is not actually facts.
Yeah.
It's actually their biased opinion.
That's right.
Or otherwise they would have got done from defamation if they went down that road.
That's right.
So, like, guys, we're living in an evil, corrupt world at the moment.
Yeah.
That, for me, and I know for you, it's kind of like we want to push through this shit and wake as many people as we can with just plain old truth and logic. Bring back, critical thinking again, and not just rushing in and listening to what Gladys says or whoever it is, right? So
yeah. Well, I think that's the mark of success. With Turning Point and all the stuff I've been doing, really before Turning Point as
great,
well.
By the way.
No, it's my pleasure, man. No, thanks so much, man. One of the things we want to do for Turning Point is actually, if no one's going to do it, and I've been pushing a lot of media on our end, newspapers and presenters, if they won't do this, we might have to start doing it, and I don't care. I'm thinking of setting up possibly a fact checker of our own, because if they keep this crap up, and if they keep, censoring and based on these false fact checks quite often, I've had a number written about me by the AAP actually, Australian Associated Press. Some of them are good, but some of them they twist it and they say it's completely false. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, guys. If you're going to use this and then completely, ban me, I'm happy to put a correction out where I'm wrong. But this is ridiculous. You're treating me like a child. I'm an adult, for God's sake. I can make corrections where needed if you call me up. But if you're going to keep this up, now it's just becoming propaganda. Because you're saying it's completely false. It's like, no, there's some truth in this. So if you're going to do that, we're going to set up our own, just like everything. We've got to set up our own apps. We've got to set up our own, political parties, our own media.
Trump's got his own media coming out, right?
His own crypto, maybe. His own crypto.
Well, I know he did well on the stock market. One of his just launched like last month, I believe.
Yeah.
DWA or DWC or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So yeah, big things. But with what's going on, from how do we move forward? Like, we're all getting censored and it's so challenging to get the message out. So that's why this kind of stuff's so important, but I'm sure there's going to be still Facebook and Instagram are going to shut this down somewhat.
Yeah.
So, the best way we can do it is to take on, the Channel 9s and all this kind of stuff, is continue to put the truth out, but we all need to share it.
Yeah.
Right? We all need to.
Yeah, but how do you get past that censorship thing? That's the tough one.
Well, even just sharing it in the DMs around, right? And this is the thing. I feel that there's a lot of people that want to share things. They don't want to send it to other people because it's like, oh, what if they don't believe the same, right? What if like this? And it's like, dude, the truth is the truth.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what they believe.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to see the truth, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
The truth is not always sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of the time it's pretty harsh. That's the harsh reality. That's the truth. So I think more people are going to just be not so scared of judgment. What is everyone going to think? Like, if I send this to my mum or my dad, my uncle, my cousins, my best friends, they don't agree with it, but at least just maybe they might get something out of it to change something, and the 1% every day, and all of a sudden you get a momentum going, a snowball effect.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think that a bit of it is on the audience to actually say, hey, the audience needs to share it out if they think it's good, of course. But also, I think that the people like you and I, it just means we've got to be better at our job. Whether that's manipulating the way that we speak to not be censored as much, and instead of saving the full word for Ivy, we'd say Ivy, which is that drug. Ivermectin, yeah. And there's also the other things like the way we distribute it, whether it's on Telegram or Rumble. But ultimately, we need a long-term solution for this, because it definitely slows the growth. And in America, I mean, we're looking at states like Florida and Texas legislating for free speech. Tennessee as well, legislating for free speech. Now, and this is another solution I might have to do. And it's annoying because it's like, I'm just a 24-year-old, but this is something which I think might work. If Florida passes their legislation and it works, and big tech stops censoring people over there, and we're in a good spot, I think I might have to move there to help us out.
Wow.
And so but this is the thing. That's good for me.
This is serious?
No, I'm totally serious.
Wow.
No, but this is how big it is, man. I mean, I've got Turning Point Australia as a Facebook page, and I've got Joel Jammal's Facebook page. At one point, they had the same amount of likes, 30,000 follows.
Yeah.
And the Turning Point one was getting 6 times more likes than the Joel Jammal one.
For the same content.
For the same exact same post, comments, everything. And it's like, this is not sustainable. So what I'm thinking is, if it works, if Florida works and their legislation's good and it protects us, I've got to go there. I've got to make myself eligible, which might mean I actually have to, become a, resident or whatever requirement I have to pass. And I might have to set up this thing, some contracts with some Australian pages where they sign them over to me, but I will have no creative control over them, just to offer them protection that Florida offers. So you, for example, you would be like, hey Joel, I'm getting censored over here, I'm dying over here. Do you mind if I say that this account's actually registered to you under this little entity? And I'd be like, yeah, no worries, man. This is our contract. As you can see, I don't want to control what you say or you do or anything. It's business as usual, except you have these protections under the Florida law because you have my name, and that's all I want. Because I want to win. I want to beat these bastards. I don't care about accumulating power and resources. I want to get a result where, the kids in my family, well, I won't say who they are, but the kids in my family and extended family, they can have the same opportunities we had without being censored.
Censored and propaganda. And here's the thing. What about how it wasn't so long ago the Identity Disrupt Bill came in? The government put through that they could go through even some of your social media and block things and censor. Now, when we blame big tech, but I would like to know how much our government are agreeing with this and actually allowing this to happen. Because it seemed around that time, it got worse around that time. And it was kind of a crazy time during lockdown, and that Identity Disrupt Bill went in, and it was like, to protect us against criminals and all that kind of thing. But at the same time, because they're saying people like us are spreading misinformation, and if we're spreading things against their party, like, don't listen to what Scott Morris is saying or Gladys, or look at this evidence to contradict, that the Liberals, whatever it is, right? Then they're not going to want that. And, they're going to play a smart game, and if people like yourself have influence on social media, they're going to try and slow you down.
Yeah, that's right.
But I believe one day the proof is going to come out, and hopefully it's going to come out sooner than later, especially if we've got the election next year, and we have some big changes. there can be people that can go in to really open it up and what's happened.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to shock a lot of people.
Me too, and it's
I
not.
think it's going to shock a lot of people.
Me too, man.
Heads are going to roll.
I can't wait for our elections, and there's a lot we can control to an extent here. But what I'm really excited for, and no one's talking about, because obviously we've got a lot of problems here, is I'm looking forward to the US elections. Because I have zero doubt that the Democrats and the Republicans are going to go at it in the midterm elections. And we're going to see, because in Congress, guys, you've got the House and you've got the Senate, similar to us. And I have no doubt that the Congress is going to be recaptured by the Republicans. They need about, I think it's, I can't remember the exact amount of seats, I think it's 10 seats. And then that gives them the majority in the House. And then I think they'll capture the Senate. And I really think that they're going to have to pass some legislation on big tech. It's going to be an airstrike for us. It's going to be awesome.
Biden is 100%, like just on the inflation alone, like he's just lost control. And you know, you're talking about like the leader of the free world, and whether you like Trump or not, he spoke a lot of truth. He had a bit of a, you know, could be a bit of a rude way in going about things to some people, maybe to quote unquote snowflakes, right? You know, the old mean tweet. But at the same time, he's a billionaire. He has $7 billion in his bank account with, you know, multiple streams of incomes everywhere. He knows how to run a fucking $1 billion business. So who's going to run a country better? Biden that can run an ice cream shop, or, you know, Trump that can run $1 billion businesses and countries. And he's already got the proof in the pudding with, you know, the unemployment rate. You know, and even, you know, they like to say that he's racist and all that. But there's many Mexicans and, you know, African Americans that would say otherwise.
Mate,
So,
I heard that Hillary Clinton might be running next in
just heard
2024.
that.
You
Did you
did?
hear that?
Yeah, I did. Just briefly. I'm still looking.
from Alan Jones. Alan Jones was saying it.
Yeah. I'm still looking into it. I was listening to Tim Pool say it, and I'm just like, is that why she got the facelift? Like, is that? I'm like, okay. No, look.
She couldn't. Seriously can't.
Mate, well, she was so she was actually deteriorating a lot in 2016. I mean, so there was that footage of her falling into the car, and basically had to be carried into the car. Yeah, she has these like brain farts every now and then as well.
There's a lot of backlash still with the whole Epstein thing.
Oh yeah. But this is the thing: the Democrats, they're in a really bad spot right now. I mean, they've got no leadership. They're like, okay, we need to remove Biden from office because he's medically unfit. But then it's like, okay, but then you get Kamala
it's embarrassment. Honestly, it's a total honest embarrassment.
To have
a guy like him in, he's unfit to run anything. In my opinion.
Well, they say he actually he farted in front of Camilla, not Kamala Harris. Camilla, yeah. There's a
Harris.
not Kamala Harris, the vice president. Camilla, who's the
I didn't know there was another one.
Yeah, no, she's the God. I'm screwing up the pronunciation of her name. The Royals, you know the Royals?
Yes.
Is it Princess Camilla?
Yes, that sounds familiar.
What's the Queen's son's name?
Prince.
Charles. Prince Charles.
Charles.
Sorry, his wife. They say when they were at Glasgow that he just let it rip in front of her, and it's like,
didn't even know.
He didn't know, and all the Republicans were just like, he just needs to have a nappy now. But this is the thing: no one wants Kamala Harris because she's very unliked. The left call her Cop Kamala. She didn't win a single delegate in the primaries when she was running to be president, and she got absolutely smashed.
Would be amazing because just to put it out there, to be like, you know, be the first Black American woman president.
She's not even black, man.
But at the same time, I wouldn't mind if she got in for a bit just to watch her fuck it up, and then hopefully Trump comes back and fixes it up and makes them look even worse.
But who does she make her VP? Anyone without an election.
Who knows?
It could be anyone. It could be Hillary, and then Hillary can use. It is, and then Hillary could use the legislation that was passed last year by Nancy Pelosi to remove Kamala. And then it's like, okay, well now you've got Hillary as president. But this is the thing: they've got a crisis in leadership, just as everyone does around the world. So the Democrats are like, you know, this is what happened, and now he can't even get his Build Back Better legislation done, which Joe Manchin, who has the swing vote in the Senate, just nuked. So it's like his administration has stopped now. He can't pass anything. And in the midterm elections next year, he's going to have like a Republican House and Senate. There's no way he's going to be able to pass anything at all. And so he's just going to be, it's going to be a sitting duck for 2 years.
It's going to be a face.
Yeah.
Face of the president.
Yeah. But that's the problem though. No one's going to be able to pass anything, and it's going to mean that they're basically not going to be able to get anything done, finance anything.
And they've lost belief. The country's lost belief in them massively. I think Alan Jones or somebody else was putting the figures out how many actual Liberals have now turned away and will be going for another party like Trump, whatever's going to happen, right? And you know, it's only a matter of time. Now, this is going to obviously affect us moving forward. But let's talk about Australia. It was only the other day I saw, what's his name? On Channel 9, the morning show.
Oh, yeah. With the doctor, huh?
He was on, I've had him, Stefanovic.
Carl Stefanovic?
Stefanovic was putting it on Scott Morrison about Albanese. About, what's his name? He was in for 19 years.
What did he do?
He's left.
He's left 19 years. I'm not sure. Annoying, huh? We're usually fine off camera. We're like, yeah, no worries. What did the guy do? What did he get put in for 19 years for?
No, he's left. He was there for 19 years, and Carl Stefanovic was putting it on him, saying that to Scott Morrison, like, you're a coward.
Right.
Like, in the likes of that. And
I saw that.
Stefanovic was really like that.
Right.
But he was saying it wasn't Albanese, it was bloody... Anyway, he was putting on...
What wasn't Shorten, or wasn't it?
Well, he's left after 19 years, and apparently Scott Morrison had things to do with it.
Yeah. Oh, that story.
Yes.
Okay.
And basically he was calling Scott Morrison a coward.
Is that
it's your fault?
Is that
how can you sleep at night, Scott?
Yeah.
And like Scott was like, oh, that's not very fair, Carl.
Yeah.
And all this kind of...
Yeah, Carl's tough when it comes to be some people.
I was surprised and Carl was going that hard on Morrison.
I want to watch that clip again. It's kind of enjoyable. But this is the thing: the media, they don't like the Liberal Party. They don't like them at all. You know, they'll be very soft on the Labor Party and the Greens, but you know, that's because it's one big cabal. We call them the political class for a reason. The only thing that makes me any different is I'm new to the game. But similarly, let's take someone who's outside the political class and the political establishment. Friendly Jordies, to an extent, is anti-establishment, and every now and then you see the writers of all these newspapers go after him. They try to character assassinate him and call him sexist and everything. It really makes things simple when you start thinking establishment and anti-establishment. Then it's like, right, okay, yeah.
Well, let's go down the road of what's happening in Australia, and let's talk about protests.
Yeah, sure. Hit me.
Because, you know, for me, you know, my first big protest was back in July, I think July 24th. You did an amazing speech there. That was kind of the first time I sort of, I guess, found you in my network kind of thing. I was like, who's this guy? You know, I was down in there in Town Hall. I was like, wow, I like this guy. I like Joel. And, you know, that was like when it was like I was getting text messages from my friends and family. You know, Chris, what are you doing? Stay at home. You're going to keep us into lockdown. You know, Gladys was going front and center every day at 11 a.m. in the press conferences. We've got 5 deaths. We've got this, blah, blah, blah. You know, the fear porn was going crazy, right? And now it's like I've never seen in my life just protest after protest after protest. And it's also protest for freedom, but I'm seeing bus drivers.
Yeah.
I'm seeing teachers. It's like, and it's kind of like the people that don't believe in protests, or, you know, they've had the vaccine, they go everyday life. It's like, are you seeing what's going on here? Like, it's not even just Australia. When have you ever seen Australia nationwide protesting, nurses of 20 years, doctors, firemen, and you're seeing it in, you know, London. You're seeing it, you know, in Amsterdam. You're seeing it everywhere around the world. And it's like, why is it more people standing up, waking up? Like, how can we just go on normal life and just think that, oh, nothing's going on?
Yeah.
When in the history have we seen this?
Yeah.
Worldwide rallies.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm starting to see, you know, I've been like probably in the last 5 in a row kind of thing, and it's starting to get a bit repetitive. and I'm starting to have. There's been other people that have never gone to a protest coming, which is great. But at the same time, I'm hearing a lot of people saying this isn't doing anything.
All right.
Right? It's
Yeah,
not doing
yeah.
anything. Where are we going?
Yeah.
And even myself, I'm getting a bit disheartened in a way. It's like, fuck, we keep showing up to these things, and it's like, oh, like where are the rest of you guys? Like,
Yeah.
you know that something's not right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, get off your ass. Do something about it. Don't whinge when we lose our rights and freedoms, or, you know, if you're not gonna, you know, fight for it, don't whinge when you lose it, right? Don't just sit back and just watch, you know, the minority do your dirty work.
Yeah.
Like, get up with us, right? Especially if you've had your vaccine. Like, what are you scared of?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you scared of?
Yeah. There's
Right?
a lot there.
And it's like, come on, Australia, let's go. Like, and you know, this whole thought of what Ricardo says is like, you know, if 1,000 people turn up to a protest, the protesters are fucked. If 10,000 turn up, the police are fucked. If 100,000 turn up, the police are fucked. If 1,000,000 turn up, we win, kind of thing. And it's like, is that the truth? Does that happen? Because
Yeah.
I thought it was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
we had 1,000,000 Australia-wide.
Yeah, I think he meant in the city.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that, in
well,
that
that's what I
particular
meant,
city.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the city. But I
Yeah.
heard, you know, like I know that was back in the day, in 1973 or 75, when the governor stepped in and sacked. When apparently it's like majority vote.
Yeah.
When there's
Yeah.
800,000 people back then protested, it was majority of vote.
Yeah.
And the governor steps in and is like, you know.
Oh, really?
you're sacked
So he
kind of
stepped
thing.
in because it was majority of vote.
Yeah, because Romeo was saying up when he was the protest, like 2 protests ago, it's hard to know exactly which one, it's like in Hyde Park, and he was saying that it was amazing because there was 1,000,000 Australians protesting Australian-wide, nationwide, and that means like it's a majority vote or something like that, and it can't be ignored. The governor will have to step in and.
Right. I'm not sure if it's a majority vote that was out that
It was
time.
like a mass. It was called mass influence or mass.
Right.
I can't think of the
Right.
word exactly.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
enough Australians protest. It's
Yeah.
like the governor can't ignore it.
Right.
And it's like, you know,
Yeah.
premiers and prime minister. We've got millions of our people protesting against this. Things
Yeah.
have got to change.
I think with 25 million people, you're going to need a lot more than that. You're going to need a lot more than that. And I think it'd probably be easier to achieve on a state level than a federal level. I get worried when I hear those sorts of things because I feel like what would end up happening is you just have the lefties could do the same thing. You know, if it only took 1,000,000 around the country, then I mean we're screwed.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
remove
I'm in the
abolish
same
capitalism.
thinking.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. It's a double-edged. Everything's a double-edged sword. But I guess you said, what is the purpose of the protests, right? And they serve very specific
Are we
purposes.
getting somewhere with them, you know?
We are. I think that the purpose of protests, it depends on what the organisers pin them to. So when the protesters come out, it's a sign of the health of a general movement. But let me just say that the protests, you're meant to then channel that energy into something productive. So you can do a number of things. There's elections. There's lawsuits, there's action, like, you know, when the truckies were going to shut down the country. So there's tangible actions you can do. But the point is, it doesn't matter what it is, you've got to channel it into something. But also it's a morale thing. Coming together and you tell me what it was like the first time. Being around like-minded people, when your family didn't necessarily agree with you and your long-time friends, it's quite therapeutic, you know, it's quite friendly, liberating, yeah.
It's really liberating.
You know, and you meet these people, it's like lawyers and doctors and, you know, articulate people. It's not just, you know, the goons of Sydney. These are people that are serious and they've lost their jobs and they're upset and they've got genuine concerns.
Yeah.
They're not all crackpots.
Yeah.
Every movement has crackpots, especially the lefty ones. But we've got to look at it and be like, hang on a sec, this is also a very big, important thing for morale as well. When Reclaim the Line started their protests, I think in April, May, June, July, August, September, I think it was. A lot of things were going really well there, and it was actually it was sort of a turning point in terms of it was a turning point in terms of what was going on with the movement, because we were allowed to protest at that point. But protests, you can't overdo them as well. So they're important.
I feel that it's kind of, we have been overdoing it a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
It seems like a little bit.
I agree. And a lot of people, they try to say, Joel's a protest organizer. Like, this is the police. And I'm like, I'm not a protest organizer. If I did, there'd only be one a month, honestly. And we're not. We'd like literally, we'd have, 3 a month. Like 3 a month is insane. Sometimes 4 a month. And one every weekend is too much. Like, if you want, but this is the problem. And this is the truth of it. There are multiple protest organisers, and everyone wants to have the big one, basically. Everyone wants it. But unfortunately, if you divide up, it's a zero-sum game to an extent. I mean, people's energy in a month is finite. You're better off saying do 2 a month than do 3 a month. You're better off saying do... Yeah, exactly. You're better off saying, no, look, you can do the one in January, I'll do the one in February, and then this guy can do the one in March. But what's going on now is everyone wants to have the big one. And look, no worries, more power to you. Everyone does it differently, and everyone has their own way of doing it, more music or more speeches or whatever. But they've got to really, they're doing it when they don't listen to each other, and when sometimes they don't talk to each other, especially in Melbourne. It hurts everyone. And then the politics come into it, and that's when all the drama starts, and the drama queens come out, and that's when it gets like, okay, this is just, we're so far removed from the original purposes of protest that I said before. Yeah. We're no longer talking about the kids, and now we're talking about interpersonal politics and BS, in my opinion. And now it's like, guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? So let me make one thing clear. There is no movement. There's no movement. There's never been a movement. There's been a general movement of cats rather, from point A to point B, and every now and then they might come together and they might go meow at the same time. But there's no general movement. But that's a miracle when that happens. These things, they always dissipate. What lasts, and this is why I've been pouring my time into Turning Point so much, is the organizers, the organizations like Turning Point or other media outlets or other activist groups or political parties that come out of it, and then they move on. They achieve their goals or they don't achieve their goals, and then they pick the next fight. And some of them will join the next fight, some of them won't join the next fight. That's how these things typically play out. But the idea that we're all meant to be in perfect unison, it never happens. You should always speak with respect.
We're humans, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Different beliefs.
Yeah.
Going on. But before, because I want to talk about Craig Kelly, Romeo, Simeon. There's a lot of egos there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have strong opinions and strong personalities, which is great if you work together. But I'm seeing a lot of different views, a lot of clashing. But just are the protests, where are we going with the protests? What effects is this having on the parliament and, getting our point across for freedom and rights, and that we're not going to just get pushed over. We're not just going to just take a vaccine because you told us to fucking take it. Like, we're going to keep on pushing through, right? There's not going to be any more lockdowns.
Yep.
Like, is this actually getting to effect where we're not going to have any more lockdowns? Like, do the protests help that? Because I'm starting to feel that, I've seen that Wolf Hazard is now talking about 25,000 cases by January, and there's a bit of lockdown rumours, around that. But, the good bloke Don Perrottet is saying that, no, it's not up to the government to take away our rights and freedoms and stuff. But I'm not going to hold my breath. But are these protests working against this? Are they getting through? Are they cutting the line? Because obviously the mainstream media is not showing none of it. Yeah. Right? Not showing, like, very little, and saying, like, there's 100,000 people there, they'll say there's, like, 5,000 or 3,000 or something, right? Yeah. And the everyday person just thinks, oh, there's a couple of crazy conspiracy theorists on the TV. Yeah. When we know when you go there, it's a lot more than that, right? Yeah. So what is it like? Is it good showing up? More people, let's go? Like, do we need to calm down? What's moving forward? Well, a number of things. Is it working? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I'm talking to the you don't really see it. The average people showing up, they're like, what's happening? Mate.
Well, this is the thing. Before the last, this last few weeks, this last month, I've been saying to everyone, guys, the movement's in the best place it's been in the last 2 years. You've got to expand your purview and be like, okay, this is where we've been and this is where we are now. A year ago, we had maybe a few hundred people show up to these protests. This is a year ago. Now we've got we're trying to work out if it's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. I mean, we've got to be grateful for the fact of how many people not only are converted, but also are empowered to come out. And they're bothered to, because we've got apathy problems in Australia. But in terms of the effectiveness, absolutely they're being effective. Are we doing them too often? Yes. But are they being effective? Oh yeah. And we shouldn't be doing them this often. But there's no doubt in the minds of many of the politicians and the members of the main political parties which I speak to, because I have to talk to everyone, so I can give you guys, you know, an insight to what is our message being received. Yes, it's being received. They are seeing a situation where it's looking like the freedom parties are going to be the kingmakers of whichever party. Now,
They don't like that.
they don't, because the thing is, the idea of running in parliament is we're never going to form government in the next election. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. We need to get that out of our heads. We'll be lucky to get 3 seats in the lower house between all 8 freedom parties. People need to get that. Like, we got more freedom parties than parliamentarians. We're going to like. I mean it. I mean it. But what they will do is we're going to control a big chunk of the vote, and so everyone wants that chunk. So a lot of, especially the Liberal Party recently, they've been scaling back the rhetoric. They've been saying, oh, no, we believe in freedom. Scott Morrison, what did he say? He's like, oh, we don't have forced vaccination in this country. And it's like, are you serious? Silent Scott, you've just shown up late to the show. I should throw this chair at you. Like, the guy has federal jurisdiction over everything in this country. He could veto the Victorian bill from hell that just got passed. He just as he did the Belt and Road Initiative, just as he did with Dominic Perrottet, when Dominic Perrottet said, hey, I want to open things up for tourism and so we can get tourists in, Scott Morrison's all of a sudden like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can veto that. And he can do that. He can do whatever he wants.
So to be clear for everybody is that when a Premier puts in something like Daniel Andrews is putting forth, and Gladys was doing as well, he could easily step in because there was a lot of rumours saying that, oh no, Australian is just run by, you know, premiers, and the Scott Morrison can't do much and he can't overrule the premiers. And I'm like, I think even my dad said this, and somebody else I was speaking to, I'm like, surely not. What's the point in his job? Like, surely he can overrule them. So he could have, and he didn't.
So the way it works is, let me give you an example. Mark Latham, he's coming out with some legislation soon for religious freedom and freedom of speech. So that's state law, because he's on a state level. Now, if that gets passed, then that becomes the law of the land in New South Wales. But the federal government, they haven't legislated on religious freedom yet. So, but if they do, and they might very soon, then wherever there's a clash between the two legislations, the federal legislation will take precedent. So if Scott Morrison comes out and says, you know what, no, Dan Andrews doesn't have the power to defer elections. He doesn't have the power to basically mandate the jab or fine these people this much. Yes, where there's a clash, the federal government, this is basic constitutional law. I'm not an expert. And so if that's the case, Silent Scott has earned his name. He's been silent this whole time, and now he's scaling it back because he's got a federal election coming up in March. Cool. Yeah, it's looking like the federal election will be in May next year. But it's not just him. We've also got Dominic Perrottet and Scott Morrison, both the Liberal Party, but they're from 2 different factions in the Liberal Party. Scott Morrison's more the Gladys Berejiklian, it's centre-right. And then you've got Dominic Perrottet, he's the furthest right, so he's more conservative, even though I wish he could be more conservative. But Dominic Perrottet, he's also doesn't want the Prime Minister to lose federally, and also he wants to make sure he wins the 5 by-elections that are coming up in New South Wales. That's a different level, that's state. That could be in February. So if he messes up the opening of our state to freedom, and if he annoys enough of these freedom parties and the population by saying, oh, you all just got jabbed, we've got like 95% of people jabbed, but you know what, I'm going to lock you down anyway, then he knows he's going to lose. He knows he's going to lose. And so that's the thinking.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He stayed so quiet when he should have, I believe, as a Prime Minister, he should have been definitely much more vocal against some of these, especially to Dan Andrews. You know, watching the people down in Melbourne suffer just, you know, and that new bill he put forward was like $21,000 fine to an individual.
Yeah, 50,000 sometimes.
And then I think it was like up to 455,000 or something to a business if you flout lockdown rules or whatever like that. And it's like, Dude, you've just done 270,000. You're the world record holder of lockdowns, and you're talking about a lockdown again? Like,
Yeah.
Scott Morrison, hello, like, come on, man.
It's crazy.
This is your time to come in and, you know, reassure the people, give them certainty that this is not going to happen in Melbourne again.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine for a business owner spending, you know, they've spent a couple of $100,000 to open up a shop or whatever.
Yeah.
And have the risks of lockdown.
Yeah.
This is not fair on the people.
It's not.
Like, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. And going back to the point, are protests working? Well, it's making it damn clear that Australians don't protest, but they're protesting, and this is what they want. So you better err on the side of freedom because, you know, we're not coming together. But now this is the thing though. The freedom parties are going to have the veto. They're going to be the kingmakers. What does that mean? That means that whoever they preference are going to become the government, basically. If the freedom parties can't get enough votes between them to get elected, then whatever excess votes will go to whoever's in that seat, Liberal or Labor, depending on. And this is why I want to do my own how to vote cards.
Yeah.
And this has been my primary concern with the UAP and Clive Palmer and Craig Kelly. Got nothing against them personally. We had a disagreement. Craig Kelly and I had a disagreement in.
Oh really? I didn't know.
Yeah, in July. I came out a few weeks ago with a video, just to put it out there. But I'm not going into the details of it because it's private and that's how I handle my. But on a public level, the problem I've got with the UAP is I'm worried about how they're going to preference. I've got a lot of very good sources that are telling me how they're going to preference, and I do not trust them. Now, this is the thing. Do I trust them when they get in Parliament?
Who do we trust, John?
Yeah, no, but this is the thing. Hang on, there's different levels of trust. If you're a UAP member, I'm not trying to dishearten you. If the UAP get into Parliament, I have no doubt they're going to vote for freedom. Against lockdowns, against the jab, against the vaccine passport. I have no problem there. That's fine. I just have a problem when it comes to the preferences. A lot of people, when they criticize the UAP, they're like, oh, you know, the billionaires and we've got to end capitalism and money, having money is evil.
Put their minds.
Yeah. It's like, why don't you just say that? And why don't you just say that that's your problem with the UAP? I'm using a scalpel here. This is my problem with the UAP. I've got sources, I've got names, I can tell you, and maybe I'll tell you off the camera, of people who are basically going to end up, that they told me that this is how they're going to preference. And the great thing is, you know, it's my fear, and they can prove me wrong or they can affirm what I'm saying. But either way, my concern is what's going to happen is there's 8 freedom parties. I don't know if you know them all, but I can list them briefly.
I wouldn't know 8 of them. Run through them.
Yeah, sure. So we got the UAP, you've got the Liberal Democrats, Libertarians.
Yes.
You've got Ricardo Bosse's Australia One.
Yes.
You've got Pauline Hanson's One Nation.
Yes.
You've got, who's the other one? You've got the Federation Party. You've got they're a small one. They're a very small one. I don't actually know anyone in that party. But you've got the IMOP Party, Informed Medical Options Party. That's Michael O'Neill, great guy. And then you've got the Great Australia Party. That's Rod Cullerton. So they're in that little co-op, those last 3. They're in that little co-op. And then the third one is a new addition, which is a left-wing party, which is Drew Pavlov's Democratic Alliance. So those are your 8. They all agree on freedom. And what makes them freedom parties is if they got into Parliament, I have no doubt, they would vote against vaccine mandates, they'd vote against vaccine passports and against lockdowns.
Which is what we want, right?
100%. And I've got no question about how these guys are going to vote on that. My concern about the UAP and Clive Palmer is I don't think he's going to preference all 8 of those at the top of his ticket, because the way preference cards works is if your first guy doesn't get in, then whoever you put as number 2, they'll get your vote. And you go all the way down until your guy or whoever gets more than 50% of the vote gets in. Now, what I'm worried about is they're going to put, you know, UAP 1, and if they don't get in, then the Liberal Democrats, and if they don't get in, maybe another Freedom Party, who I won't say who, and then they're going to do the Liberal Party. They're not going to put any of the other 8 Freedom Parties. I have a freaking problem with that. I have a very big problem with that. I want them all in because we know how they're going to vote on freedom. We don't know how the Liberal Party is going to vote on freedom.
Let's vote them all in.
Yeah, well, and that's my problem with them. Now they might come back and say, Joel, it's not pragmatic. You know, we'll cop more flack from doing some of these freedom parties for their other beliefs and whatever. And it's like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but this is what I believe. I think you guys can win seats in your own right if you preference properly. But maybe they'll disagree. Now look, this is a concern. This is not fact. We will know if this is the case about 2 weeks before election day, because early voting will come out and the UAP will have all their how to vote cards being handed up by their 85,000 members or volunteers. My concern is that with such short notice, we won't be able to correct it and call them out. But the plan I've got will allow us to have an alternative. If they do this, and this is the nightmare scenario, if they do this, then I have, just like I did with the local elections, people can put their address in and I'll have a how to vote card ready to go. And they can spread that around, they can screenshot it and get it out there, and we'll have a backup. And because the last thing I want is for 86,000 volunteers for the UAP to hand out how to vote cards where they don't even realise what they've actually given out. And maybe they'll be like, crap, they'll realise it, they'll see my segment, me calling out the UAP saying, I told you guys 6 months ago this is going to happen, but it's okay, here's a solution, and then we can go from there. But
what's because to defeat your enemy, you should know your enemy's strengths and what they're going to be up to, right? So what do you feel that's going to be the big thing that we need to watch out for obviously now Scott Morrison wants to come out to be the good guy now. Obviously that's one of his little tactics. What else is he going to try and swindle and bribe as such, by manipulating people's minds into them voting for them like he's the good guy, right? It's like he's just stayed in the shadows, and it's like now he wants to come and be the nice guy. It's like, no, I don't think so. How do we counteract that with, do you think there's going to be any other weaselish ways that they're going to, attack in some way, propaganda, media, in getting them to be, take over some of the other guys, how do I say it? With these freedom parties, because obviously they don't want Craig Kelly in there. They don't want Ricardo Bossi in there. Right. So with this, how do you think that the Liberals, the left, is going to counteract this? Do you think there's going to be anything that we need to watch for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually already there, but no one's talking about it. There are big funders that are backing the more radical left right now. And if we don't get the balance of power, we don't steer the ship. We could have other left-wing MPs elected, or radical left-wingers, that get the balance of power, and then it's, rather than going really far this way towards freedom, we're going to end up going all the way that way towards lefty lunacy. But this is the price of not working together and preferencing properly, and that's why I'm investing so much time and my own money into making sure that we actually get this right. There are people, I think it's called Voices for Hughes. It's called Voices for, and then the name of the electorate. So for example, in Craig Kelly's area, and when I was working for him from March till June this year, I first discovered this group. It was called Voices for Hughes. Hughes being the name of his electorate. A big area just south of the Prime Minister's electorate, which is the electorate of Cook, south of Cronulla. Very big area, a lot of forest there near the National Park. About 110,000 people, 120,000 people. And this Voices for Hughes group, they're funded by left-wing, well-funded people, millionaires or billionaires, I don't know who.
And for their own personal gain?
For their own personal. It's so that they can control the country. It's so that they can move it in a certain way. And this is the thing, they don't even have to get up. All they have to do is say, okay, we'll give you our votes and preference you, Labor Party or Liberal Party, but you need to not preference the freedom parties, or you need to not preference, you need to adopt these left-wing policies that we want you to do. We have the same power. We have the same power to do the exact same thing as minor parties. We can barter if we want, but some of our parties aren't that intelligent, unfortunately. And I don't mean to bag them. I'm just saying you don't use the power that you have. You have this power. You have votes. You can do what you want. But it's up to you how you do it. You also don't want to compromise who you are and your voters and betray them. If you don't think they're going to follow through, then you've got to run yourself. But look, there's stuff like that that's happening. You've got at the same time Reset Australia, which is an organisation I've talked about. They're pointing out all, where the Jews are hiding under the floorboards, and I mean that figuratively. What they're actually doing is making it so that it's, really difficult to get anything up online. They're making it so that we have a situation where the people are so censored and they don't know which accounts to follow. I mean, with Craig Kelly, for example, Craig had a massive social media following, and he got absolutely nuked.
Yeah, right.
He got nuked. The guy got smashed, and not just him. People like Ricardo got smashed by censorship as well.
That's what I'm talking about, because they're going to come out with that kind of tactics. I'll no doubt next year to hide the UAP, to hide Ricardo, to put them in the shadows.
That's right.
And it's
and this is the thing.
We've got to stay in front of that.
100%. And this is the thing, man. I've had disagreements with both these guys, but I don't care. I want to win this thing. I want to make sure that we end up on top and our kids aren't forced jabbed. I mean, what did we see this week? We saw Pfizer come out and say, hey, we're doing experiments on kids. It turns out they won't need 2 jabs, they'll need 3 jabs and and maybe a stronger dose too. And I'm like, okay, now you see...
There's already myocarditis coming out in kids.
Mate.
Like, man,
enough
of this shit.
It's ridiculous. There's a guy just the other day.
The kids can't even make their own fucking decisions.
I know.
You're giving them an experimental.
And it shouldn't even be the kid's choice in the first place. It should be the parents' choice as being guardians over them. But no, look, now we're in a situation where that's the case, and look, there's a lot of things going on, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Yeah.
Let's talk about Craig Kelly.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Ricardo Bossi and Romeo Georges. What's going on?
Oh, there's a lot there. Sorry, we've got one of our favourite cameramen has come.
What's going on?
Yeah. Murray, did you say 3? Did you say 3 minutes? Oh, cool. I didn't realise there was a timer. No worries. Okay, briefly. What happened with Romeo, Ricardo, and Craig? Yeah. Did you say? Yeah. Okay, so Craig and I, we worked together from March until June. I worked on his social media, and we had a disagreement and we went separate ways. That's the extent I'll say to people. But all you need to know now is I'm working to make sure that all the freedom parties get up. Same with Ricardo. We did a show together. We had a disagreement on the nature of the show and where it should go into the future. Went our separate ways. He did phenomenally well. Got something like 8,800 members in his party by that point in February this year. Big social media recognition. I mean, there's very few people in the freedom movement that have the facial recognition he does. Excellent. So he's doing well. He's gone on his way. So I've got no malice towards these guys. The third one is Romeo. Now, unfortunately, Romeo thinks I stabbed him in the back by going to a ball the other night with my lovely partner. My mum was so excited to dress us up and go out because...
Was that Symons?
Symons ball? Yeah, the freedom ball. Now, unfortunately, and I don't want to talk about this much, guys, because frankly, we've got to focus on content. It is a hot topic, but no, it seemed as though Romeo was trying to control who I sat with and who I dined with and where I went. And unfortunately, it's ironic, but that he's become the very thing that he swore to destroy, which is the government. I was at his house a week ago, and I said, Romeo, I think it's time to wrap up season 5 of Romeo. I think you got to come back refreshed next year for season 6, and we'll smash it. Yeah. But it seemed as though he wanted to keep going, and it looks like he's spiraling, and I don't like it, and I don't get any joy out of it. I still see him as someone I care about, and
he's a legend.
He's a legend. Top and this is a guy that gave me the opportunity to do the show and everything. But no, look, at the same time, it's like
getting a bit loose.
Yeah, look, I don't want to put it that way, but look, you shouldn't be telling people who they should be having dinner with and where they should be going and all of that stuff. But second off, you don't call on people's deceased fathers to make a political point, which he did. And I didn't do the same with him, even though his father's passed away. And so I've learnt a lot the last few weeks. I want to focus more on content and giving people tangible solutions and not this interpersonal BS.
The solution, we need to work together.
Exactly.
Let's put the shit aside. Let's work together.
Exactly. And every day, mate, I'm adding new projects to Turning Point. We've got 18 projects, coming up for next year. And I can't wait to delve into them. But no, I'm not slowing down. I've learnt a lot of lessons with a lot of the freedom fighters, and it's not that I don't burn bridges, but it just means that the nature of our relationship changes and the way that we move forward, because there's still a fight to be had, and we actually can't afford... Put all the
energy into that.
Yeah, and we actually can't afford to... We don't have the energy or the resources to do it. All the 18 projects I have don't have time for the interpersonal drama. So, so it looks like, a lot of people will think, oh, the movement's disintegrating. As I said, there's no freedom movement. It's a general movement of cats from point A to point B. If they all make the same sound at the same time, great. That's a miracle. It doesn't happen often, but we've got a massive fight on our hands. And if we don't refocus, we can and we will lose, and I'll see you in Florida. But I think we've got a good shot at this in the federal and the state election.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess on that note, that's that.
So what about, next year, you say about a fight on our hands, you're talking about the election, or
Yep.
what about, lockdowns?
Yeah,
like that?
everything.
Do you think lockdowns are going to happen?
Everything, mate. We've got federal election in May. We've got a state election for South Australia in March. We've got, and we're tossing up whether we do how to vote cards for that. We've got a state election in November for Victoria. That's a massive, absolutely massive. But the biggest one's the federal election in May. And so we'll see how those three go. And then in 2023, the following year, state election for New South Wales. So that's where we basically say, hey, Dom, it's time, mate. It's time, Now and that's the thing. You've got to keep that gun to their head figuratively and politically, so that we remind them, this is where the votes are. If you want them, these are our terms. It's for freedom, and that's it. Unfortunately, we don't have many good parties on a state level in New South Wales. We've really only got one nation, and that's it. There's no one else. The Christian Democrat Party, they've just completed their disintegration, and yeah, that's where we find ourselves.
Can we use the V word?
Vaccine? I actually think we have multiple times. And lockdowns, also lockdowns mid next year, they'll come after the election. Most likely.
After the election.
If they're going to come up, they're going to come up then. I don't know though. I don't know. We'll reassess after the election.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a huge thing if they do lock down, and the people have had the double juice, and I just see, I'm like, surely there's going to be, what happens?
Yeah.
Like, what happens? Honestly, what happens?
Yeah. If they lock down.
If they lock down and people have had the double juice and...
Well, our numbers are just going to keep growing, mate, because everyone's got their line. And some people, their line was when they introduced the booster jab. Some people, their line was when they introduced the jabs for the kids.
For the booster.
Yeah, the booster, the kids, all the mothers coming out. Some people, they're going to lose it for when we're all jabbed 95% and we end up getting locked down anyway. It's like, well, why did I take this thing? And so everyone's got their line, and our numbers and the protest numbers are just going to keep growing. But the real punch we need to land is these elections, and that way we can actually get into Parliament and change legislation to protect our freedoms. And I think on that note, I think we're out of time. But Chris, mate, thank you so much for doing this on short notice as well. You're an absolute legend. I can't wait for the next one. And I guess the big lesson I want to take from all this is, have a break, everyone. Chill out. We've got a big year next year, as you heard, and it's been a crazy last 12 months here. I mean, over 100 days of lockdown in New South Wales, and Melbourne took the trophy for the most lockdown city in the world.
Australia's done it tough. We've been, kind of the laughing country.
Yeah.
And thanks. And anyone listening, I'll say just do your research. There was an amazing podcast. The best one I've seen so far was Joe Rogan and Dr. Peter McCulley.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about so much solutions.
Yeah.
Actually, what's happening in the medical system with some of the biggest doctors, biggest names like himself.
Yeah.
So I'd say, guys, do your research.
Absolutely. Yeah. And don't trust the thing we say. Always look it up.
That's right. Always.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you for joining us for this discussion. We've got a number of these lined up. I've got like 6 guests I really want to get on over the course of the break. And if you are a business and you guys want us to host one of these things here and give you a big shout out, let us know. Send us an email to the link above, the Shoreby link, /turningpointaus, and there'll be an email there for you guys to contact, and that'll allow you to get in contact with us, and we can look at possibly doing something. We're thinking cafes, and we're thinking pubs, and maybe restaurants as well. But if you're for freedom, and if you're not afraid to put your voice out there, let us know, and we'll be in contact. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Jammal.